My friends are adorable. I can't even tell you how many texts I got after the 60 minutes piece on the psilocybin retreat for veterans, because they're like, oh my gosh, Jill, now I know what your therapy was like. No. MDMA therapy for PTSD is very different than a retreat in the tropics. So let's go ahead, let's talk about it. Hi everybody, my name is Jill and welcome back to the Journey Sage. This is the channel where I talk about psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, and it's a channel that I wish had been around when I was going through the therapy, because at the time I didn't have anybody like me explaining what the heck was going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some screenshots from the CNN video to explain some differences between a therapeutic, semi-clinical, because I wasn't actually in a hospital during my therapy, but like semi-clinical because I was actually working with two licensed professionals, and the difference between that experience and this ceremonial group experience. So let's go ahead, let's get into it. All right, the very first picture I'm going to show you is when you're in a ceremonial experience, you're going to have a sharing circle because the ceremonial experience has many people involved. During my MDMA therapy, it was me and my two doctors. It was my therapist and my guide, a male and a female. And I will tell you, I was spoiled. So I had my 3 MDMA journeys with those two people. And at the end of 1 year, I no longer qualified for a PTSD diagnosis. I then continued the following year to continue to work through some trauma. I got the pleasure of working with those two people 2 additional times before they moved out of my area, unfortunately. So I was very accustomed to getting all the attention, right? All the attention. And so the first time I went to a psychedelic tourism retreat, again, to work through my trauma, I was like, wait a minute, I'm not getting individual attention. I have to like sit with other people. What is this? So what you're seeing is very much psychedelic tourism, a retreat experience, absolute focused on healing and focused on healing trauma, but a very different experience from a patient working with 2 doctors as per the MAPS protocol, MAPS being the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. Those are the folks that ran the clinical trials, and you can check out all of that clinical trial data on their website. All right, moving on. The next thing, usually in a clinical setting, you are not going to get saged. Now, what you're seeing here with the person standing like this is pretty standard during ceremonies. And you get saged so that you can have all of the negative energy cleared out so you can focus on healing. I don't actually like the smell of sage, so I'm always just kind of like, okay, here we are. But it's pretty standard practice of just, we're going to set the tone. We want to release negativity. We want to engage with healing, things of that sort. Now, my therapist and guide are a little bit spiritual, and so I didn't know it at the time. They saged the area. I didn't know that that was kind of a ceremonial thing because I was so new to the psychedelic experience. I just kind of went with it. I will say that if you're in a clinic, I'm not 100% sure you're going to have a saging experience. But if you go on a retreat of some sort, I would bet money you're going to have a saging experience. Every single retreat I've been on, there's been some sort of, we're going to cleanse the negative energy and we're going to let in the healing, lovely energy. All right, the next 2 pictures are of the medicine people that were running the ceremony I don't remember where this ceremony took place, and that's my fault. I should probably watch that video again. I think it's really interesting. I think it's always interesting, the balance of male to female. There are absolutely some retreats that are fully female and fully male. They advertise that way, which is beautiful. Sometimes you get a lot of work done, the divine feminine, the divine masculine, that's great. All of the retreats I've gone to have been a balance where you have a female facilitator, a male facilitator. You have a balance of the energies. That's what I had during my treatment, a male facilitator, a female facilitator. And I believe in the MAPS protocol, that's pretty standard too. And if you think about it, it comes down to reparenting in terms of therapy. You know, there were times during my therapy, especially my third journey, where my female therapist kind of stepped in and was, to my subconscious, acting like a parent, acting like the mother, reassuring me that my own mother wasn't capable of doing because of her own trauma. So it's kind of very appropriate that there's a male and a female energy during therapy. The same way it's very appropriate, unless you've signed up for a different kind of retreat, that there's a male and female energy during a ceremony experience. So I wanted to show them to you. And then I think the most poignant picture that I could grab from the video, because I come from a therapy background, is this one. The backstory here is they were probably in the middle-ish of the journey, psilocybin, magic mushrooms, and this particular participant had raised his hand. He needed some help. And one of the facilitators came over, and they had a good number of facilitators. I think the ratio was very close to 1-to-1 here. And sometimes you wind up getting that on these retreats because people like facilitating. There's a lot of kind people out in the world. Even when I have facilitated retreats, it's usually like 2-to-1. There's only been one retreat I've been on where I think the ratio was like 4 to 5-to-1, but the participants were all experienced. Like we all knew what we were doing. There were no new people. We were screened that way. So I thought this was really nice. You have a facilitator there, and this very closely mirrors my therapeutic experience, especially on my third journey. My third journey was very, very challenging. It was my little 5-year-old girl trapped in the house where she had gotten beaten and her mother had tried suicide multiple times. And I can't tell if that facilitator is holding that client's hands, but I will tell you that in my third journey, my therapist asked me permission to hold my hand, and I accepted it. And that touch to this day still brings tears to my eyes because I didn't have that kind of compassion from my own mother. She didn't have the ability to give it because she didn't get it from her mother. So what you're seeing there is that facilitator being an empathetic witness, showing some kindness, probably allowing some grounding for that particular client. That very closely mirrors what I experienced during my therapy. So if there's ever this illusion that you're just kind of on your own during a journey, the way that you might feel you're on your own during a recreational psychedelic experience, during a therapeutic experience, you are there with two people all the time. They are focused on you. You've got their attention. And when you need help, they are there, very much like this picture is depicting. And then we have the music playing. I certainly didn't have live music during my therapy, but I know that music was playing because my therapist and guide, we voice recorded my entire sessions. Well, we had a little bit of a tech glitch during the second one, but I'll tell you, when you voice record your sessions, which I really encourage, don't video, the file will be too big, but voice record so you get to hear what your subconscious is saying, you'll start to realize how the music can influence the journey. And you can go on your favorite streaming video music site. Johns Hopkins has playlists, MAPS has playlists. If you're in a beautiful tropical environment at a ceremonial kind of experience, very often you'll have live music. I did not have live music. I had a playlist, but it worked. It was all good. And then lastly, I love that they showed this. I love that the veterans who were in this video were so willing to share. I'm willing to share my story because I think it can help other people. And I love that other people get that. They understand that. There's been a little bit of pushback that veterans shouldn't have to share their stories for, this treatment to be out there. But you know what? As someone who has shared my story so that more people can understand this healing modality, I'm with these guys. I think this is cool. So we're seeing a group integration meeting, which is very standard for a ceremonial or a psychedelic tourism experience. I've done this in every psychedelic tourism experience I've had. For therapy, this was just one-on-one with my therapist ongoing. I think there's this illusion that I just had 3 MDMA sessions and boom, I no longer qualified for a PTSD diagnosis. That was not the case. I was having talk therapy sessions with my therapist every 2 to 3 weeks throughout that entire year. And then I continued. As a matter of fact, I still have a relationship with my therapist. We still talk every 3 to 4 weeks just to keep up with things. Even though I have healed the major traumas, I'm still very much aware that I get triggered by things, and sometimes I need to talk things out to understand which age is actually responding to things. So that's really the difference here. This was obviously a group Zoom. For me, in a therapeutic environment, it was very much a continued therapeutic relationship with my therapist, not the both of them, not my therapist and the guide, a continued relationship with my therapist. So there you go. Those are the differences. I don't have pictures to show you of my therapy. Again, that video would have been massive and I wouldn't have had great hair. So there's no way I would have shown that to you. But I hope you get the image. Jill, 2 facilitators, both licensed professionals, all eyes on me. Ceremonial, group experience, very, very healing. 1 kind of experience over a week, 2 psilocybin journeys. I think they also did either a 5-MeO or bufo, same thing, 1 synthetic, 1 natural, but very much a group experience in a condensed period of time versus me long-term working with my therapist with these 3 journeys mixed in. If you want to hear more about my story, head on over to Amazon. I've got my memoir, Rescuing Jill. I also have my workbook. So if you are heading to a tourism, a psychedelic tourism retreat of your own, and you're like, well, how do I prepare? I give you the cheat sheet. My workbook has the 8 different ways that my therapist and I prepared for my journey. So feel free to check that out. You can always head over to thejourneysage.com. I've got tons and tons of resources over there, even ways that you can find a retreat if you'd like. And so with that said, until next time, take care.